Fatality. Geek culture wins.
Whoa! Hi, Chinhan. How are you?
Abida, is it?
Avita. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm well.
So, before we get started on Shang Tsung, I know that not many people know this, but you were born and raised in Singapore, just like me. So, what's it like transitioning from working on local TV shows to Mortal Kombat?
Oh, there's so many years between that and Mortal Kombat, I think. Where do you want to start? I think it was 25 years ago when I did my last thing in Singapore, the TV series. It's I am very grateful. I'm glad that I'm able to continue doing what I did. Started doing like 30 years ago in theater in Singapore, and 30 years later, I'm still here, and I'm doing Mortal Kombat.
Have our assassins double their efforts.
What of Lord Raiden? If he discovers we're breaking rules set in stone by the Elder Gods.
Leave the other gods to me.
That I love, back in the 90s. It's very surreal, but I am grateful. It's a very unusual kind of life.
Well, that's lovely. You said that you were a fan of the games when you were younger.
Yeah. I was a fan of the movie first. I think, first and foremost, back in '95, and then the games, which are the arcade games, basically. As the machine, not so much the computer at that time. So the movie was so wonderful. It was colorful. It was action packed. It was a great soundtrack and everything. And I remember buying the cassette tape and then playing it over and over again. And so, it filled me with a lot of good memories. But then when I got the role, it is 25 years since the first movie, and a lot of things have happened to Mortal Kombat in that 25 years. There's so many games in between. There's so many, other kinds of forms of the movie and the TV series and the web series and all that stuff. And so, doing it was important to do all the research for that before I took on the role. And there's a lot of research because the history of it is so large, it's about 30 years of history. But it was fun. It was fun to do all that and then come up with a character with Simon McCoy, that I think, that I hope that the fans will like.
I think just now you were speaking about how, it's been 30 years and, like the lore of Mortal Kombat is really deep and wide.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Shang Tsung himself he has a very complicated history. He exists in multiple different timelines.
Yes.
So how much of the lore do you bring into your characterization of Shang Tsung?
Quite a bit, I think his, firstly, obviously the two most distinct things about Shang Tsung is his ability to shapeshift, and that comes from his soul taking as well. And, and that has allowed him to kind of exist within all these worlds because he can also teleport interdimensionally, with portals and everything. So, he fits in very organically with all the different timelines, which diverge and then converge again. And so you kind of find them in all these places, and then sometimes you don't even know that he's there because, he's shapeshifted and he's become, he takes on the personality of someone else. So I think what we've created is consistent with, all the lore and the canon. Hopefully we can add one more chapter to it.
Yeah, I think we were all leaving the theaters, my team and I, we were just so excited for a sequel. We're hoping there's a sequel. But which one of the scenes was your favorite to film?
I have to say the favorite ones were also not easy because we because the place was so otherworldly, right? It was so exotic. And I never seen anything like that before. And it was a scene where we were in Outworld, and we're walking through this, this kind of this wasteland. And that was a place called Lee Creek in southern Australia. And it's further out in the desert. And we had to fly in on these small propeller planes. The place was an abandoned coal mine, a massive abandoned coal mine. And it was incredibly hot. The ground was cracked. They had fissures with smoke coming out and little, bursts of flames. And we were walking through. We had to be careful though. They marked out all the places where that was happening. We had to walk through that. And then it was so gusty. The winds were strong. It's incredibly hot. And wearing all that armor, we had to shoot. Then we had to shoot the scene. That was not easy to film, but that was also like one of my most memorable times, because this really was one of those moments where you stand there and you're like, you can't believe you're here. It feels like an out of body experience. Just looks like nothing you've ever seen before.
Now, I know, just because you were mentioning the costume as well, like how long did it take for you to put on the costume before filming? What was it like literally step into the shoes of Shang Tsung?
No, it takes a village to put that on, and there's good reason too, because, the costume is actually made out of a lot of parts, right? You can't just have a costume that goes on like this, because that kind of costume limits mobility, and then if you have to move or you have to fight or anything, it's very hard to move. You need to have a costume that breaks down into many different parts so you can do it. And so it was designed that way, and there are many, many different parts and many, many different layers of it. So it takes a very long time to put on, and there is a sequence to put it on. If you put on, I remember the first few times we did it, if just one hook goes, in the wrong place or goes in place earlier than it needs to go, the whole costume can't fit. So it needs to put on in a very, very, methodical and very, kind of structured kind of way.
That sounds a little bit stressful.
Oh yeah. No, and that's before you even start acting, right? So.
Now, in the movie, you got to say like the iconic catchphrase, like "Your soul is mine." So what was it like when you found out you got to perform one of the most iconic lines in the Mortal Kombat franchise?
Oh, you think about you think about the 1,000,001 ways you can do it, and then you kind of try it, and you keep doing it until the director calls action, and then whatever comes out, right? So, but before that, you're thinking and you're practicing and you're trying it 1,000,001 ways, but there's so many lines like that, right? I mean, I think for Shang Tsung, it's not only that line, it's also, it has begun, it's finished, all that stuff. So you constantly think about 30 years of history, and you want to make sure that you kind of do the 30 years of history good. You want to do it well for that. So
I think just because we need to like wrap up an interview, I'm so sad because I have so many questions to ask you, but could you do us the honor of closing this interview by saying fatality, geek culture wins? Not with the jazz hands, but or you could if you want to.
What, for fatality?
Yeah,
for the word fatality. What is it that you wanted to say? Fatality, is that?
Fatality, geek culture wins.
Oh, geek culture wins. Okay, got that. Okay, I can do that. Fatality, geek culture wins.
Whoa! Thank you so much. This has been such a great time. Thank you, Chin Han.
Thank you, Abida.
Good one.